Question 16. How do I pray without zoning out or falling asleep during family and church prayer?
Yeah, so in order to answer this question, I think we need to define prayer. In 1 Thessalonians 5, it says, pray without ceasing. How do I pray without ever stopping? It's an endless prayer. In Luke chapter 18, verse 1, Jesus was telling them a parable to show the disciples how they should pray at all times. And the analogy he used there is a widow who's knocking on the judge's door all the time. And what I see from that is not really, it's like what I said earlier. It's the phone conversation. It's the video call with your friend, with your father, who's your friend, saying, I just want to have that connection open. And sometimes I'm going to ask you things, but more often I'm going to listen to what you have to say. And a lot of times I'm going to be quiet. But the entire phone call is prayer. And I don't want to hang up the phone. I don't want to end the call because then I lose that connection with you. So I'm going to keep the phone line open. And that's what prayer is. So let's define prayer in that context. Now, when you define it in that context, I want to be praying at all times. Now, I sometimes struggle in long prayer meetings. I also zone out. I also sometimes I'll zone out when I'm singing a song. Sometimes that's because of my fault, because I got distracted. I don't condemn myself. I'm like, okay, Lord, let me go back, and sometimes help me to just read the song rather than sing it, or be conscious of paying attention to what the someone is praying. And most often the time is with me, and I say, Lord, let me pay attention to this because maybe there's something here that will encourage me. But quite often, long prayers may be boring, and it's okay to zone out if they're long prayer and they're boring and you're zoning out. But rather than zoning out from that prayer, I would say tune in your heart to be constantly connected with God and say, Lord, I want to, even if I'm zoned out from that person's prayer, which has become a little bit boring and long and repetitive, I want to tune into what you have to say to me. And maybe there's something you have to say to me to what they're praying, but maybe not. So don't condemn yourself about that. There's some prayers which are truly boring and long, and it's totally okay to zone out of that. But don't ever zone out of your relationship with God.